Good morning, everyone. I'm super excited today to be joined by Chris G, who's the MD of Rixo, a B2B e-commerce agency that specializes in e-commerce websites, but he's also the UK chapter lead of the B2B E-commerce Association. And we're both very thrilled to release our joint guide to B2B buyers' demands in e-commerce. So, Chris, welcome on board for today.
Thank you.
Maybe as we open up, if you want to say a few words of intro, maybe
Yeah,
to
sure.
introduce yourself, your background, all the fascinating stuff you do in B2B e-commerce.
Yeah, no problem. Well, yeah, it's a real pleasure to be here today. So my journey into e-commerce began nearly 2 decades ago. Having run my own e-commerce business, I then moved into growing an agency that is now 100% focused on B2B commerce. It did begin in an unexpected place. I unexpectedly inherited a struggling business, which was a chain of high street music shops. We used to do musical instruments, guitars, drums, keyboards, and ultimately ended up being one of the largest ukulele dealers in the UK.
Whoa,
And
that's quite a niche.
Very niche. And at 26, I found myself implementing an e-commerce and marketplace strategy to recover a business I had no experience in. And you see a guitar behind me. I even learned an instrument because I felt a bit like a fraud running a music business without playing an instrument. And so while that chapter of my life kind of laid the groundwork for my understanding of commerce, it's quite a lengthy story, so I'll save that for another day. And then after I sold that business, my brother and I, who was also looking for his next challenge, we decided we were going to start Rixo and take everything that we'd learned and impart that wisdom onto other businesses who are kind of facing similar challenges. So we've now been doing that for 12 years. And we've kind of got this belief, it's one of our core values, that there's a belief in better, there's a better way to approach challenges. And that kind of really perfectly aligned with the B2B E-commerce Association's mission as well. So I joined last year as the chapter lead, and it's just been fantastic. The association was established in 2019 by Brett Sinclair, and we're now dedicated to empowering B2B businesses with knowledge, networking, and the tools and the vendor partners that they need to transform and grow. So my role there is to network, introduce people, work with partners like Hokodo, get involved in reports and make sure that we're sharing this knowledge as far and wide as we can through our global network. So yeah, being asked to get involved in a report that is dedicated and like hyper focused on B2B for the merchants by their customers, that was incredible. And yeah, I'm looking forward to discussing that more with you.
Yeah, Chris, and it's such a privilege to partner with you because I think we totally share the same vision, as you said, which is a vision of a world in which e-commerce becomes the norm and it's the driving force of the new digital economy.
Absolutely.
But we also share the same goal to help companies adapt and thrive in this new world. So for us, it was wonderful to have you join the report because you're one of the foremost experts in the UK when it comes to e-commerce, in particular to B2B. And I think we've done some outstanding work together in this report, which is a real step forward because a lot of the time, I don't know if you find the same, but I see a lot of stuff being written for merchants, and it's all about what tools you need to create your website and so on and so forth. It's very very centered around the merchants, but at the end of the day, as e-commerce practitioners, we develop something that serves a purpose and serves a client. And going back to what are the buyer's needs, because at the end of the day, if we do something that customers love and want, we will be successful. And this report was really an opportunity to speak to hundreds of buyers located in the UK, also in the rest of the EU, and to combine this into actionable insights for the e-commerce vendors, merchants altogether.
Yeah,
So
absolutely.
yeah, no, that was I found it, some of the conclusions were really eye-opening, I found, and there was one that I wanted to share with you because I hadn't expected that. We all know that e-commerce is a growing trend, but in the hundreds of buyers that we interviewed and professional buyers, because it's all about B2B today, the
Hmm.
report found out that 93% of B2B buyers were using e-commerce channels. And this was way more, honestly, I was expecting 50, 60%, not 93. How did you react to that stat?
It's an interesting, wasn't it? I think kind of expect people
Mm,
to say yes, they are, but maybe they don't always realize that they're doing B2B transactions until you ask them. Even as simple as maybe popping onto Amazon to buy blue roll to go in the kitchen, that kind of is a B2B transaction. But, the range of B2B is so wide, isn't it? You can be buying, like I say, blue roll, but you could also be buying washers for mounting engines in lawnmowers. There's just such a wide range. And it wasn't really until I started working in the association that I saw how vast B2B e-commerce actually is.
yeah,
You uncovered it in the report as well that by 2028 it's going to be nearly $19 trillion worth.
yeah.
It is massive.
It's incredible, but I think for me, I've really seen a kind of tipping point around the COVID period, when the online channel overtook the in-person sales. I'm talking B2B here. And
Hmm.
I think, maybe around 2018, 2019, people were talking as, B2B e-commerce, yes, that's the next frontier and so on. But now B2B trade, it's not like it's moving online. It's already online now. 93% of respondents
Mm.
saying that they're already making purchases online. That was, I nearly fell off my back.
Mm.
Uh, and as the chapter lead for the B2B E-commerce Association, what's your general advice when you're approached by merchants, by brands that are not yet really capitalizing on the opportunity? Do you set a fire at their bottoms, or how do you?
Yeah, well, I think for merchants not yet online, there's a couple of extra.
2024, not yet online.
Well, that's the thing. B2B it's steady, it's relationship, it's very
Mm,
human to human. These businesses are really well sheltered.
mm.
There's lots of businesses that have no need to go online. Some still take faxes because they're just that's how it's always done, and they're always doing it. So I think that the very first piece of advice is get it really clear what it is you're doing and start with a super clear strategy about how you're going to go online or become bigger online, and know where you want to get to, by when, and why you want to get there. And then, really importantly, is decide how you're going to measure that you've arrived, because e-commerce, digital, it's vast. And like you mentioned earlier, there's lots of noise and lots of advice from retail and just general internet vibes, giving us lots of not misinformation, but maybe things that could lead us the wrong way.
Yeah, and I'm sure that you've also seen quite a few horror stories of people, trying to go online without that clarity in the strategy, or managing the shift, but with costs of, acquisition costs that were horrendous, and that just
Hmm.
made the business model unsustainable.
Yeah, absolutely. We see lots of customers at our agency who are maybe on their third or fourth website, trying to do something, and potentially they've picked up a retail strategy and implemented it, and it's not gone
Mm.
so well. Um, so I would say, to kind of prevent that route is speak to your customers, your existing customers and your potential new customers, and understand what they want from working with you digitally. So, you know, don't build the website for you, build the website for them. And there's some great examples of that in this report. Like if you're looking to see how to ask your customers what they want, read this report because that shows you. And then I
And
think,
maybe, Chris, that point you're making about customer centricity, it's
Mhm.
crucial, and especially sometimes in B2B, we're a bit tempted to be very product centric and not listen to the needs of the customer that much.
Mm.
There was that staggering statistic from all the buyers surveyed for the report. 98% of those B2B buyers claim that they face issues with e-commerce checkout. This
Mm.
is unbelievable. How do you explain that?
Well, I think it probably comes down to technology leading the business decisions, not the business decisions leading technology. And I tell the people who I work with, and the team at Rixo, is technology works for us. We don't work for it. So when you're choosing your CMS, your website
Yeah.
platform, when you're choosing your tech partners, when you're choosing the people you're going to collaborate with, find people that understand how your business works. And choosing a partner who understands B2B and can
Mm.
offer flexible solutions for B2B will mean that your customers face less issues because you're not demanding a credit card payment for a card type that doesn't support business card types, or you're not choosing a checkout that doesn't have a purchase order box and you have to spend crazy monies on extensions or
Mm.
customization to have something that is just so standard in your industry. So don't reinvent your business to get online. Change and find technology that works for you to do it. And, that's why payment providers specific to B2B are fantastic. 100% focused on B2B. It's going to be able to work in that, in the business for you, and hopefully prevent 98% of people having checkout problems.
This is so true because I can't comment about the whole checkout. Like, I'm not a website expert like you, but when I look at payments specifically, like, in certain industries, you have buyers who actually expect installments that are relatively small, small businesses, and are used to a quasi B2C experience. But then when you move to higher order values, well, they expect 30 days end of month, or having a trade
Mm.
account. And then oftentimes you also have the issue that you know credit cards don't suffice. When you have a very large order, above
Mm.
£2,000, you start to see the acceptance rates from credit cards just going down because people hit the ceiling on their credit cards or whatever, or there's a fraud detection that's triggered. And that's when people suddenly start saying, well, you know what, I've always paid by invoice with a bank transfer at the end of the month. How do you accommodate those journeys within your e-commerce website? So just within the payment brick, you have so many journeys and specificities depending on the industry and size of the order. So yeah,
Yeah.
we see that every day. Now, still being very customer centric and very buyer centric, because that's the crux of the issue. How have you seen consumer experiences changing the expectations that B2B buyers have towards their merchants? What's the impact of consumerization?
Mm. Well, I think one of the things we're seeing is, and it's obvious to everybody, but there is a huge shift towards a digital first approach.
Hmm.
And the people are expecting a seamless online experience. The buyers are getting younger. They are digital natives. We've got young people in our team. They don't want to pick up the phone so much. They just want to get something done via email. They don't want to necessarily pull a card out of their wallet. They want to use the wallet on their phone. And they want to be able to do that at any time of day as well. So our day-to-day lives of, sitting on the sofa, watching some Netflix, doing some shopping is transferring to B2B. And people are getting jobs done any time of day. And you mentioned COVID as well. I think that's changed the work-life balance for a lot of people. And 9 to 5 is maybe not so much of a thing anymore. It might be 8 till 9, 10 till 2, 4 till 10, and people are breaking their days up to be able to fit family and jobs, fitness around the day, because digital is allowing us to do that. So I think, understanding how people are shopping and when they're shopping is really bringing out that thing. And we can't man the phones like we used to in B2B. We can't have a telesales desk 24/7. It's just not viable. That's where digital is really going to help us and capitalize on that. I was going to say, I think one of the other things are like the rising standards of technology and just innovation. You've got people like Klarna and ClearPay bringing finance available at the checkout. And then you've got, which is something that B2B has done forever, right? We've had accounts, payment on account, put it on the account, I'll pay for it at the end of the month, or I'll pay for it in 3, or give me 30 days. And then suddenly you're like, well, why can't I do this at work? I can buy a pair of shoes and I can pay for them in a month's time, but I can't operate my business in the same way. I've got to ring up, I've got to send a fax, I have to send it back, I have to sign it. So there's almost like an expectation from the B2B world to keep up now and keep up with the pace of life.
There's one thing that you said about the blurring frontiers between personal life and work life and how everything becomes very intertwined. I see it also with some merchants and some clients where the online and the offline are both running in parallel. And sometimes you have a client who's going to come first through your website because that's how they discovered you. But, over time, as they build a relationship, maybe they'll want to place a telesales order, or they'll show up at the warehouse or whatever. So you have like a bit of an omni-channel experience that's emerging. And I was wondering, for you being a native e-commerce expert, how you see this operating with your clients? Because for us, one of the challenges of creating that unified omni-channel experience, when you have someone who's coming online, but then you need to serve them the next day offline, how do you have all the information merging at the right place at the right time? How do you advise your clients to run their different channels in parallel?
Yeah, that's a really good question. I think it depends on the complexity of sale, the size of the business, and how that business wants to run. Because a lot of the time in B2B, we're always talking about the source of truth, the source of truth for an order, whether that may be, are you going to all put your orders into the website, front end and back end? The telesales team put orders on the website as well. So Rigso's built a product called the ODB, the Order Dashboard, which is a specific telesales dashboard for B2B. And so you can experience the same experience as somebody using the front end. You can have access to same payment methods. You can quickly send it as a quote, as a payment link, access the same upsell, cross-sell information. So we're helping people by giving the same experience to telesale staff, but you might also be using your ERP to do this. And I think integrations is part of that key to a unified experience, is making sure that the data comes back to one point. And I always think about it as the customer view. can the customer see everything that you've done, every invoice you've created, every payment you've tracked? If they can, then you're well on the road to success.
This is so true. And that's how sometimes I notice that, for some of our clients, the e-commerce initiative becomes the impetus to creating the single source of truth. And in a way, replatforming a lot of clunky processes and databases in the background.
Absolutely. Yeah. You can often clear out clutter from your day-to-day work until somebody walks into your business with fresh eyes and says, why are you printing that order off in this room, walking it across the room and putting it in this person's in tray? That can move digitally. And it's like, oh, can it? It's like, yeah. Oh, well, we hadn't thought about doing that. And then suddenly you're starting to open opportunities. And I think that leads to one of the real benefits of having a decent integrated experience is the data that you get from your business. You can start to use your telesales data and your front end data simultaneously to measure customer experience, satisfaction, use it for upsell opportunities. There's so much business intelligence that can become available when you start to centralize your systems, and you can suddenly get insight. And sometimes, just like with the stats from this report, those stats can be really like, oh, I had no idea my customers were doing this.
Yeah, absolutely. And then, data turns into insights, which into additional sales afterwards. And
absolutely, yeah.
Now, there's one question I wanted to ask you is how can merchants benefit from becoming members of the B2B E-commerce Association?
Well, thank you. Yeah, well, in so many ways. So we are the B2B E-commerce Association. So we are hyper-focused on B2B. We keep everything B2B, and our merchant members and our vendor members already are telling us it's so refreshing to be at networking events with groups, being introduced to people who understand my problems. So we're creating like opportunities, open conversations, introductions with people who just get it. And you don't feel like lots of people I spoke to recently have gone to the e-commerce events last year, NEC, Olympics, and they come out and they say, yeah, there's a lot there for retail, but I didn't take away a lot. And we're changing that. We're creating a space just for B2B. There's all sorts of educational resources. We've got access to some fantastic reports, white papers, case studies. There's loads of insight in the association website. And I think one of the other parts is kind of like advocacy. There's somebody fighting your corner as a B2B merchant who is demanding attention from vendors, from CMS partners. I think at last count, there were about 40 specific B2B website platforms that we've got listed. Now, I don't think many people who are Googling at the moment looking for a new B2B platform would even discover 40.
It's amazing that there are 40.
It is. But, we're a B2B e-commerce agency, right? And we have to fight through the noise of retail. We really have to shout loud to be found because there's so much money and so much competition in retail. But we've got to cut through that.
Yeah, but you're obviously doing a good
Thank
job.
you.
I think for many years, B2B was a bit like, the poor cousin. And but more and more, the e-commerce association, you're putting B2B on the map. And it's becoming obvious to more and more people that you can't run a B2B e-commerce project in the same way as you would do in retail. And otherwise, it's a guaranteed car crash, and it's different customer journeys, different expectations, different tools, different pricing grids, ways of running the catalog, and all this that really make B2B very specific.
I was on Jason Greenwood's podcast not so long ago, and we were talking, and we were saying that for now, there's this long-standing joke that B2B is 10 years behind. And I think that may have been true, but it's picking up pace and it's catching up. And B2B businesses are ambitious and they can take risks, and they have better margins than retail. They have higher volumes. And they get to cut their teeth selling more to the same person rather than just in and out. And I don't think it will be too long before we're seeing a shift and the retail sector will start to learn from B2B
Yeah.
relationship building and how to reconvert existing customers. It's not
How
far
we
off.
how we manage recurrence, retention. When you look at this, the
Yeah,
stats on many B2B websites, they're actually already of retail.
absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. And, we've got a thing, the retail sector has a thing to learn about loyalty and reconversion from B2B.
Yeah, and creating something that's ultimately more sustainable, both for the customer and for the merchant. So I
Mhm.
encourage everyone who's selling B2B to join the B2B E-commerce Association, to join a group of
Absolutely.
like-minded B2B specialists, and to
For
crack
free,
the
of course. For free for
for,
merchants,
for free. All
Yeah,
that
they don't
content
have
for free.
for free, for
What's
free.
the catch?
Well, the catch is I may ring you and drag you along to one of our networking events, and you'll have to endure coming out and spending an evening with people like yourself, solving some problems. So, it depends how you look at it.
Well, and maybe now, Chris, taking your crystal ball and looking into the future, what are
Mhm.
some of the big e-commerce trends that you see for the next couple of years, and in particular impacting B2B e-commerce?
Yeah, fantastic. Well, I'm not going to mention AI, blockchain, AR, or VR because I really liked what you said right at the very start about the noise of the internet. And if you speak to ChatGPT or Google stuff, this is the answer you'll get. Oh, the future is AI, blockchain. I don't think it quite is yet for B2B. I think that the broad spectrum of digital adoption means that we still have people who aren't online, and we've kind of got some foundational basics to get done before we start thinking about blockchain. Not to say it's not there, but if you are new to e-commerce, if you're still young in e-commerce, get e-commerce right. And once you're really comfortable with that, look at some of those emerging technologies. I think more flexible payment solutions, obviously, as we've highlighted in this report, are going to be demanded when the adoption of more specific B2B payment solutions come up, like buy now, pay later, easier for facilitating credit online. People are going to get more creative again, and they're going to demand another layer of flexibility and another layer of flexibility. And something that I think the B2B E-commerce Association is leading the way with is there is more resource available, and there's more resource every week. I'm seeing more people starting B2B e-commerce specific vlogs, blogs, podcasts. There's a lot more webinars. Tech vendors are now segmenting their efforts to have a B2B section. So the role of associations like us and industry bodies is going to help to bridge that gap. And we've got the B2B e-commerce awards this year. So,
Mm.
and an actual dedicated award for B2B businesses to be recognized in and cut through the noise and not be competing against the usual crowd of award-winning businesses. So yeah, there's a way, and an award can actually be a great way to gain focus and think about how you want to structure your e-commerce business. Pick a category that you'd like to win, put some focus in, and that will drive your direction. Yeah, I think just to summarize what I've said there is it's not the trendy stuff that everyone will tell you. The trend is going to be we're going to see people getting the foundational parts right, getting payments right, and more people helping to bridge the gap of knowledge. And then we will all pick up pace And 2025, 2026 is going to be alight with choice and opportunity.
Yeah, no, thank you very much, Chris, for reminding us to get back to the basics, get the foundations. No, but you're right. Like,
Yeah.
so we've seen so many people get through their, first, second, third websites. Also, I think as an industry, we're getting more mature and we're seeing the right providers, the right tools emerge from that noise also a bit. And once you've screwed one or two websites for the third, when you get to the third one, you're like, okay, who's done it before? Who's built a successful B2B website? And that's how I think the whole landscape is becoming much clearer than it was. And as you say, we're really at that fascinating bifurcation where it's now very clear that B2B e-commerce is the one thing that's growing in the world of B2B. That's the one distribution channel where people are seeing double-digit growth year on year, and which is
Absolutely.
overtaking the other ones. So it's fascinating time, and it was
Yeah.
great to have your insights
Oh,
today,
thank you.
Chris, and also to have them in the report, which I encourage everyone to read and see that much needed focus on buyers, those B2B buyers that are the life and of e-commerce.
Absolutely.
Read the definitive guide to B2B e-commerce buyers demands, and you'll find some of the insights that we discussed today and much more in a report packed with data. Thank you very much,
Lovely.
Chris.
Thank you so much, Louis. Thank you.